This podcast is a conversation by Julie Benetti and Susan Bobrow and is a production of VI Alliance, copyright 2019. And this chart-busting hit, Alone Leave Me, courtesy of New Threads, is available everywhere. So this is Julie Benetti. I'm back with Jacques Saint Pierre, and we finished talking about the Chateau Frontenac, and now I'm going to pick your brain, we say in English, about the spirit of Quebec. Because you know I love Quebec City and I keep visiting with my husband and we walk around and try to pretend we come from Quebec City, but we don't. But we enjoy the energy. And the energy of Quebec is interesting. Some people I have talked to here who live and work here say there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy around Quebec City. And when we talked about the Chateau Frontenac, that emits a lot of energy too for inspiration and just like you said, being an icon here of Quebec City. But are there other things?
Winter season expressed Quebec identity. When we compare ourselves to our French ancestor, French people, they talk a lot. They express themselves on every different subjects. And the Quebecers are more reserved people.
Yes.
And they think a lot before speaking. And I think it's an influence of the long winter, which creates a situation. People live in their houses and they do not visit each other very often.
So people become very pensive and very thoughtful. It's funny because when I speak a little French, and if I have a chance to speak here, I hear and understand a lot more. I hear a lot in the streets is je pense. And I think, oh, okay, it's a way to start. That makes sense. There's a lot of thought, which is funny because for me, coming from the Boston area, when the winter is cold and people get often sad, maybe from their thoughts, or they get lonely, they talk about not depression, but almost the moods of winter, and people almost hibernate a little.
Yeah, we hibernate. I think we are confronted with not the easy part of the nature.
Right.
When pioneers came here, they had to cut the trees to eat meals from the animals in the forest. There was the winter, and at that time, in the 17th century, the temperature was lower than now.
Really?
A little bit. In France, they talked about the little âge glaciaire, le petit âge glaciaire.
Oh, like a little ice age.
Yeah, ice age, little ice age. That influences, I think, the people. It's a long-term influence.
It's funny because in the wintertime, if we've come, even November or in maybe January or February, the St. Lawrence River is ice. Just for me to see that, huge sheets of ice, and sometimes you see the Coast Guard ship or something cutting through the ice.
100 years ago, we could go from Quebec to Lévis on the ice. There was an ice bridge.
Oh.
No, not each year, but most of the time.
Just to walk across?
Just to walk across, yeah. Now, in certain places along the river, they use an ice bridge.
An ice bridge. It's funny for me because it's cold in the winter, but when I see the river frozen, it makes me colder, if that's possible. Yeah, because you see the chunks of ice.
When, for example, we have ice canoe race in February, the people which watch competition are frozen, but canoeists are special
outfits or uniforms. Yeah.
But they also say that it's warmer in the canoe than on the side of the river because the water is at 32 degrees.
Okay.
And could be 20 degrees lower.
That's interesting. So it's colder on the shore.
Yeah, it's colder on the shore.
And it looks colder in the water. Wow.
It seems. But
I wondered how they could row in that, and it must be freezing. And you're right, their outfits are smaller than what the people on the shore wear. And yet, where I come from, sometimes I think they call them the polar bears, or the people that go into the shore in the winter in their bathing suits. They go into the water. But here, I wouldn't do that on the St. Lawrence at all. So also in the energy of Quebec is a lot of different and interesting foods. We started to talk about poutine. Does poutine express the energy of Quebec City? Talking about poutine, and you said, it's good.
It's good because it's simple and good. It had a good taste. It's French fried and cheddar cheese and every different kind of sauce you like.
And it's almost like a delicacy here, I guess. It's funny because I was reading something and I was doing some research. And is it true that poutine originated in the 1950s in maybe Warwick, Quebec, at a restaurant, Le Lutin Qui Rit?
Right.
That's correct?
Yeah, but there's a mystery. Many little cities claim to be the first place to have sell poutine. It's not clear. It's somewhere in the center of the province. Maybe Drummondville, Victoriaville, in this between Quebec and Montreal. But that's not clear.
Online it said the restaurant owner was asked to add cheese curd to the fries, and the owner, Ferdinand Lachance, responded, "Ça va faire une maudite poutine." In English, they translate, "That's going to make a dreadful mess."
Yeah.
And I said, I wonder if this is a true story online.
That's the first time I heard about that.
I also found it interesting that Quebec itself, the name, comes from Quebec. Is it an Algonquin word?
Yeah.
Meaning where the river narrows.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons for the choice of Quebec by Champlain, the founder of Quebec. Before founding Quebec, he sails a lot along the maritime provinces. Part of the East Coast in the United States, main coast, I think. He went to Cape Cod to choose a place to stay, and for different reasons, he chose a northern place. But Quebec, in fact, means when the river narrows.
When the river narrows, right? Yeah. Okay. What do you think is one of the most important places here in Quebec City, besides the Chateau Frontenac? And it doesn't have to be a tourist place or a museum. For me, going a little further north and seeing Saint Anne de Beaupré is very powerful, very beautiful.
The first place we think of is Place-Royale, because its origin of the city is there, but it's not necessarily most significant place. I like very much more recent quarter, which is named Limoilou. My mother lived in Limoilou for a certain period of time. That's a part of this city inspired by New York. We have street with number and avenue with numbers and a lot of trees, little houses, block of houses with the balcony and some stairs.
Spiral stairs, right?
I like
it sounds a little bit like Cartier Street. Cartier, a little bit like that. Yeah. It's not south of the port, but it's what, west?
It's
west
of the port. It's like Cartier Street, but it's at the time Limoilou is 100 years of age. Limoilou was a quarter for the middle class, and Cartier Street is a higher class of people. It's a beautiful place. I like this part of the city.
Is it also a place for artists or for?
Yeah, there's a lot of artists now.
And music.
Music.
Artists?
There's a festival on the 3rd Avenue at the beginning of the fall season. There's a college and many little shops, a bakery, a good bakery.
It does sound like New York. In that sense.
At another scale.
Right, without all the traffic and yes.
The building I like the most in Quebec City is not the Chateau Frontenac, is the Price building, which is an Art Deco. It's our skyscraper in the old Quebec. I like this building.
Now, where is that? Which one is?
Yeah, it's alongside City Hall.
Okay, sometimes it's decorated, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yes.
It's a small skyscraper.
Yes. Yes, it's in a beautiful area. Isn't that where they have the autumn festival? The Giants come out in the New France Festival. New France, I think, occurs there. Yeah. And so you mentioned Place-Royale. It's right here, down by
the little chapel.
Right, the little chapel here down in the older part, down below.
That's the older part of the city, and it's very attractive too. But I think a quarter like Limoilou is more specific.
There's a lot of interesting energy there too, because there's like a quad, we say, almost like a square there, where's the church, a couple of different, it used to be a little shop, and now it's, I think, a cafe. Yeah. And then there are other restaurants around it, and
it's like a French square, and there's a statue of Louis XIV, the Sun King, in the center of the place, and it's a beautiful little place.
Yes, it is.
Sometimes I go to eat a pizza when I am sitting on the terrace and I look at the church and the other terraces. It's almost like I was in Paris. The same impression. It's a very nice place.
I agree with you. I know the area, and when I stand there, if I'm lucky that there are no other tourists, no people, no English, no photographs, I can feel the history, and I can feel the energy of maybe the people that lived there before, in the streets, because it's like cobblestone, and the building, the architecture, and even though they're shops and they're modern, there's still a feeling of that energy of the people.
It's important because every pioneer families arrive at that place when they came from France or some other countries in Europe. That's kind of, in French we say a berceau.
Okay.
It's a rocking.
A cradle.
That's the cradle for all the family, all the French Canadian families.
That just completely describes the energy of the area of a gathering,
and there's some plaque which tell that, for example, the ancestor of the Saint Pierre family lived there in there's some of those plates placed on the buildings.
Oh, the historic plates. I think I've seen some.
Plates,
sure. I've seen some in the areas. So now, that's the Place-Royale. Now, the one up above where the theater is, where all the construction is
Place Duville,
where they have the ice skating rink in the winter.
It's a beautiful place too. Now we will have 3 theaters.
They expanded in the back.
That's the funny place of Quebec. The young people go there, and there's always a lot of activities and different activities, and just the people walking,
hanging out, playing music too on the street performers, right? Yeah. They have shows there at the theater and music.
Yeah.
They had restaurants in this.
Many restaurants,
And the skating.
It was a marketplace 100 years ago. There's postcards showing people with their horses and little carts and vegetables. It's
right before the gate, right?
Right before the gate. Yeah.
And then you go into St. John Street.
And I have lobby cards of the film I Confess, which show Montgomery Clift and Anne Baxter on the Louis Joliet boat, which still exists.
Yes, it does.
And we saw the Chateau Frontenac on the back, and it's a beautiful picture.
I took that boat once with friends, and we were visiting, and we went around, and it was a beautiful trip, but it was so cold. But it was fun traveling to all around the beach and to the bridge on the Ile d'Orléans.
The Joliet go from island of Orleans and Montmorency Falls to the Quebec Bridge, and it's always cold on the boat. In summer, it's always cold because of the wind
and the air current. So, is there anything else to share? Or I thank you for your time and your energy. This has been very interesting sharing about Quebec City.
It was a pleasure.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Thank you for listening to this production from EI Alliance. Check out our Amazon authors pages for books and podcasts. Find New Threads music and their latest album on iTunes, Spotify, and newthreads.us.